So I think we're going to just jump right into strategy, and maybe I'll focus on Ari and Paula for this one. And you could talk, if you could just talk to us a little about, I mean, I think the festival experience can be really overwhelming, and we all come with lots of ideas about what it is that we need to achieve. So, I want to talk a little bit about what a strategy should be, what it could be. And maybe if you can use films that you've brought to the festival that you've just mentioned and talk about how did you come up with a strategy, what was important to do or achieve during TIFF or even any other festival for that matter, and how do you go about setting that up?
Well, I'll just, my first response to that is it's important to figure out what you're strategizing for.
That's right.
Are you campaigning for on behalf of the film, your current film that's in TIFF, or is it on behalf of the next film that you're trying to put together? So figure that out first, and in many cases you'll have both. But figure out what it is that you want to talk to a specific person about, and then you can put together a strategy for it. In my experience, TIFF has been mostly helpful in sort of planning for the next one, not for the current one. My experience, TIFF is a Canadian festival. Our films are Canadian films, and for the most part are sold by the time TIFF comes around. So you have buyers and distributors in town, but for the most part, you're planning ahead for the next film and trying to sort of spread the words about your upcoming projects in the hopes that when they're ready to go, people will be aware of them. But if you have any questions about what to do with a current film that doesn't have distribution or sales or is looking to find a home somewhere, then we can help you answer that too.
Just to add on to what Ari's saying, like I came here with a couple different films on occasions where we hadn't sold the U.S., and so we came in with a very specific strategy of, talking to TIFF and negotiating when our film would play and what day we wanted it on, because certainly there's days that count more than others when you know that certain buyers are going to be in town and you want to be in that opening first weekend so that people will be here and see you. So you kind of have to, one year I had a film that was also in Venice, so it was quite a negotiation with the festivals, the two festivals, to have the films play far enough apart so they weren't kind of canceling each other out, and make the most of both strategies. And for both of those films, it was really key for us to kind of target distributors in the U.S. and get that sale. Although in other films, that we've done together, we've pre-sold, so it was more of just like trying to get word of mouth out about the film, so people would actually, go see it when it came out.
I think the short answer to the question is it's really a case-by-case situation. Everyone's strategy is going to be different depending on what state their project is in or their upcoming project is in, and use the delegate guide for sure, because you know who's coming, and if you're looking for a sales agent or if you're looking for distributors, you know exactly who's coming from what country. Don't be afraid to get stalkerish, get on Google and see what these people that you want to meet actually look like, so that you can identify them when you go to places. You need to be able to actually see someone in a room and say, that's someone that I need to speak to. Don't be afraid to do that research, figure out what these people look like, and then I'll just say when there's someone that you want to speak to, and it's in a setting such as a party or an event, the key that I found is, or at least when people have come up to me with projects or pitches or ideas, you got to be as concise and specific as possible. You don't want to start up a long conversation as though you're going to become best friends with this person. It's not about that. These people have 20 other people to meet with, and they have agendas of their own, just like you do. So the key is to be specific, be concise, and really what you're hoping to do is just earn another opportunity to follow up at a later date. You're not going to sell anything or achieve anything in that 5-minute window. All you want to do is make enough of an impression that when you hand them a business card or when you get an email address, they're going to remember you when you follow up with them in a week.
One of the new services that we're going to be offering at TIFF this year is a talent hub at the Festival Industry Center. So along with all the other countries and companies, there'll be a space for the film teams that are selected at the festival who don't have a sales agent or distributor attached to their film. So you'll be able to use this space as your sales office. We'll be in touch with you shortly because we'll be looking for some information. I don't know if you're all registered to receive our call for entries and if you know what we do for festivals, but we do hold selection screenings in Montreal, not for shorts, but for feature films. And we do have relationships with a lot of the festivals abroad also for shorts. So that's a service that you can use. And then for key festivals such as Toronto, Cannes and Sundance, Berlin, etc., we also produce microsites that will profile you as a filmmaker, your film, include the trailer of your film. And we actually then have a broadcast campaign where we send out that information to close to 17,000 people abroad, which is basically the whole Senando list. And I don't know if you're, as a filmmaker selected at the festival, if you have access to Senando.
We do.
Yeah. So that's a great tool.
So just to follow up from what Brigitte has said, if not already done after the sessions today, so you don't forget, I recommend for anyone who hasn't done it, go on telefilm.ca. Right on the face page, you'll see that there's kind of a button, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically to register as a client, and then there's a drop-down menu where you can check what areas interest you. So it might be festivals, documentaries, features, television, whatever interests you, you can check those things, and then you get notices directly to your inbox. You don't need to be checking the website all the time to see, is there a telefilm deadline coming up, or when does the telefilm screen with the programmers from Sundance, or things like that. That info will go directly to your inbox, and maybe needless to mention, but I'll mention it anyway, it's free.
And another initiative that we do for shorts now at Cannes is called Not Short on Talent, where this year we had 4 sessions screening short films at the market. So we provide the market screening facility to you, but you have to register. There's a selection process that we do in-house.
The other thing I'll also add to your question is speak to the person at TIFF who programmed your film and just say, I'm interested in the following film festivals for my film, and can you introduce me to the programmers from those festivals who are here, because they all know each other. All the programmers tend to know each other, so just use the person who programmed your film to help you meet other programmers.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, actually, you asked, and I think it's a great opportunity to kind of make those connections. The institution I work for, we're different, of course, but we do take the opportunity with other programmers to screen some of the other films that we want to get into other festivals when they come out for TIFF as well. Great question.
I just wanted to add and say, don't be afraid to contact anyone you want to meet with. I mean, you guys all got into TIFF, which is amazing. Congratulations to you all, because you beat out a whole lot of other people and a whole lot of other films. So people will want to meet with you. So don't be intimidated by saying this company's too big or they do too much, because the worst they can do is say no, and then you try to find some other means to get to them. But, you've got something, to show, and you should act on it and use that to your advantage.
And just on that note also, don't be insulted if you send a note to the president, let's say, of a company, and they say, I've passed this on to my colleague so-and-so, and they'd be happy to meet with you. Have that meeting, because the larger companies send multiple people to TIFF, and the job of those people is to feed information, projects, kind of do some reconnaissance on talent, and feed that right up the chain. So you're going to have more time, actually, with the more junior people.
Dan, you want to add to that a little bit, just in terms of Telefilm's role in co-productions and kind of working with filmmakers in terms of setting those up, if there is a role that can be played?
The back end role, of course, is that we have people who will approve the co-production. But that's down the line. I mean, first you have to make the deal. You need to get in bed with the right person, and you need a formal co-production agreement. And I think Ari outlined it very well, because the things that his company or Paula's company is going to look for is very similar to what Telefilm is going to look for. I mean, we get a lot of approaches that are, wild. I mean, from my point of view, I'm doing a Canada-Brazil co-production. Okay, that's great. What's in place? And you have to ask about 50 questions to determine that nothing's in place. So bottom line is there's not much we can do. Often the best service that I personally provide at the end of a meeting like that is to suggest that they work with an experienced producer or executive producer who's actually going to be able to pull these pieces together.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, it's just funny the people that will pitch you that don't understand the cultural tests in certain countries and the rules and the percentages, and they'll say, I've got a writer, director from, whatever, Ireland, and I've got cast, and I want to shoot it here. And it's like, well, okay, so you think you can just come and shoot in Canada and get all this money? It doesn't really work that way. And there's so many people that don't understand. And there's a great website that you should all write down called olfi.com. It's online film financing something else .com, and it basically you can click and this little map of the world at every single country, and it will tell you all the funds available, all the funding available, the treaties that they have with other countries. It's amazing. It's free right now. It'll start charging for it next year, but it's a great resource to just find out, what funds are available in what countries and what we have 54 treaties, Canada, something like that.
That's the right number.
But just what all the other countries have to offer.
I think I'd like to that's a perfect segue then into kind of the final chapter, which is looking at financing. And if we could talk a little bit about that. And I think I'd like to begin with you, Dan, and maybe talk about the role that Telefilm plays in terms of financing production.
Well, we are a financier. We are a financier, and we can go up to 49% of the Canadian portion of the budget. We don't typically go to 49%. Sometimes we do, but we did an analysis, and our average last year was about 29%. So that's a significant chunk of the budget. And the reason that Canadian filmmakers are in such a great position in comparison to some of our colleagues in other countries is that when you combine telefilm, so let's call it at 30%, and then the tax credits at, roughly speaking, 25%, then your Canadian distributors guarantee at roughly 5%, because Canada is a separate market. It must be handled separately from the U.S. and other territories. And then possibly the OMDC and the Greenberg Fund or other provincial funds. I mean, it's amazing. We are worth in the world market only about 2.5% to 4%. That's all Canada is. We're a very small country, 2.5% to 4%. But on the financing level, we can be a 60, 70, or 80% financier. And sometimes, especially with the lower budget productions, we're 100% financier. So it's really a remarkable leg up that we have in comparison to, let's say, people who had exactly the same education, but they happen to be born and live in North Dakota. We're tremendously fortunate.
I think sticking with Telefilm, then I think there are probably short film producers in the audience as well. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about how producers that are moving that into features are able to build a relationship with Telefilm.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. And I guess that's one of my main functions actually is to build those relationships. So my first message should be that no one needs to be shy because not only do I enjoy meeting with you, but it's actually what I'm paid to do. So I think if the message came back to our CEO, I've been trying to meet with Dan for 2 years and he won't answer my emails, and or I came in and he was really nasty, then probably I would have to look for a different job. So you should feel that the door is wide open because it really is. What really appeals to me is, number one, to have the opportunity to see your work. So if it's a short film, I might not be able to see it during the festival just because of other priorities, but you could send me a note and either send me a DVD or send me a link, and I will definitely watch it. And it's very it's a very good idea to just kind of give me that opportunity before we sit down and meet. So I'm not talking about a meeting at a party or something very informal. Obviously, I'll speak to you without having seen the work. But if you want to have a more of a personal sit down, I would really like to know more about you as a filmmaker first, and the work will speak for itself. The second part is, well, what is it that you want to do next? Do you want to do, a drama? Do you want to do a thriller? What is it? And hopefully at this point, you have not only your elevator pitch down pat, but you have a very good one-page synopsis. You might have some artwork and something that's short of an actual screenplay, because I can't be, reading 10 different screenplays every day. I do read a lot, by the way. I think in the last 4 weeks, which have been a pretty busy time, I think I've read in excess of, 25 or 30 screenplays. So it's, and that's in addition to reviewing cuts of films and all the meetings and so on and so forth. So I do read a lot, but I think it's a little too much to ask to say, oh, here's my first draft, read it and then let's meet and you'll tell me what you think. There should be another meeting before that, which is, here's my prior work, here's a synopsis of what I want to do next, here's the budget level I'm thinking, here's some bios of the team that's involved, and now let's get together and talk about it. We have two particular programs that are emphatically geared to new and emerging filmmakers. And by the way, we're not ageist, so a person could be any age. So you could be 18, you could be 70. It just depends on the work. And we have given a lot of opportunities to people who've enjoyed a good career, let's say in television or in music videos or in other areas, and they now have a feature project that they would like to do. It doesn't matter if they, graduated school 30 years ago. We're still very interested in that person as a new feature film director, writer, producer.
Yeah, it's great.
For now.
That's great. Any
Yes,
questions?
sir.
Go ahead.
And short films?
We don't fund short films. We love to watch short films, but our mandate is really features. There is one small program that's available in Atlantic Canada. And Brigitte, do you know, is that being renewed this year? Anyway, but there's Bravo Fact and there's other ways of financing a short. There used to be at OMDC, the calling card program. I still feel that shorts are a superb calling card. And let me just riff on that for a second, because in addition to having a short as a calling card, given the low costs of production now, if you have a feature that you'd like to make and there is a fully fleshed out screenplay, on only a couple occasions, the director has gone out and actually shot, let's say, 2 scenes from the script using the actors. So using the actual actors that she or he wants to use in the feature. And I've been very impressed with that. It shows the tone. It shows whether the director can work with actors. It gives me a real flavor for the film, and I love it when people do that.
Yeah, I was told the same thing. I was just at the Frontiers film market in Montreal, which runs concurrent with Fantasia. And there was a lot of big international sales agents there, and there was a lot of panels, and everyone was saying the same thing, that they really, for a new filmmaker, a new director that maybe has only made a couple shorts, what they really want to see is a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see like a little teaser trailer, not even so much a trailer, they want to see like a scene, like Dan said, that shows the nature of what that feature is going to be about. And it may cost you a bit of money out of pocket, or maybe you can make a short that delves into that and have that
that's what I would add.
financed.
Whenever I talk to young filmmakers or new filmmakers now about sort of the path to take, I always say, whatever your feature film end goal is, make the short a version of that, or a scene from that, or a selection of scenes from the feature film. Don't make a short that is a family drama and then want to make a comedy or an action movie. You know, they should be aligned with each other, and that makes it a lot easier to sell the feature version of what you're trying to do and show people, here's what I'm capable of.
By the way, just a specific example of what we're talking about was Kate Melville's Picture Day. So when Kate came to visit me, which was I think about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I didn't know her. Kate is a television writer. Our paths had not crossed. But she came in with 2 scenes from the script that she wanted to shoot. She'd never made a feature. If memory serves, I don't think she directed anything other than the scenes from that movie. And that movie won the Borsos Award at the most recent Whistler. So this method, by the way, seems to go in and out of fashion. I've spoken to other people who've said, no, don't do that. But I from everything that I've observed from kind of my side of the table, I love it when people do it.
It works well, and especially in the field of genre. Like an older example, but one that really worked was Vincenzo Natali's first short, or not his first short, but his last short, Elevated, which he did at the Film Center, was basically to illustrate that he could make cube and sustain the horror and suspense in a one-room environment. And he made this really great short, and went on to make that feature, which was sold all over the world. And then look at him now, look at his career based on growing from there.
I realized I had lost my train of thought before, and I will just finish the thought. So Telefilm has 2 programs which are emphatically geared for new filmmakers. So one is our micro budget program. That's for films budgeted up to $250,000. We run that program in partnership with 24 educational institutions across Canada, and you can look up the guidelines on our website. But the next step up is within our main feature film fund, which is the Canada Feature Film Fund, CFFF, we have a lower budget stream. And lower budget means anything between $250,000 and $2.5 million. That's lower budget. And we are looking in that fund to build new talent. So whether you're a first-time feature filmmaker or second or third time, you belong in that fund. And in Ontario, I'm the person to see. I do have colleagues, counterparts in Vancouver, Montreal, and Halifax.
That's great. I think I'll just add to your question about the short film fund is that the NFB still does have the Filmmaker Assistance Program, which gives up to $5,000. So worth noting if that's what you're considering.
Bravo Fact, and there's NSI Drama Prize. There's a whole bunch of them out there if you just look for them. But another one to add, just for anyone who's writing a feature script, is if you're not aware of the NSI and Movie Central sponsor a program called Script to Screen. And every year they take up to 200 applications, and it's just first come, first serve. First 200 applications in the door, and they will give you up to $50,000 to develop your feature script from treatment to final draft. And I think they pick 5 a year, and there's no criteria like some of the other script funds. You can just be an emerging filmmaker. There's, you don't have to have had a film in a festival or such and such number of credits. It's just open to anybody.
That's great.